Welcome to the Worthington-Kilbourne Safety Drill Series, Episode 1, Evacuation and Rally Point Explanation. Today, we're going to learn about different types of safety drills we participate in at Worthington-Kilbourne High School, specifically building evacuations and evacuations to rally points. Each year, we practice several safety drills. We will actively participate in some of them, such as fire and tornado drills, and others will be completed in classrooms through presentations or guided discussion. The safety of everyone at Worthington-Kilbourne High School is important. We practice drills so we are prepared in the event of an emergency. We want to make sure that students and staff know what to do and where to go to remain safe. There are times when we will need to evacuate the building. In some cases, we would exit the building to our fire drill locations while the fire department responds to the emergency inside. For example, a grease fire in the kitchen, or a small chemical spill in the science classroom, or maybe a custodial closet has smoke coming out of it. The fire department would address those. Once the issue is resolved, we would return to the classrooms to continue our day as usual. Each classroom is equipped with an evacuation map like the one you see here. These maps provide directions for each classroom to exit the building. In general, students and staff evacuate the building using the exit nearest to their classroom. The exit each classroom is directed to is in coordination with the other classrooms to ease congestion in the limited stairwells and exits. At other times, we may need to leave the property. Hazardous substance incidents can quickly become emergencies. For example, a derailed train car can leak a hazardous material that can create toxic fumes a mile away. Or there may be a safety threat outside of the building, and the police department might order an evacuation until law enforcement personnel resolve the situation. In these instances, we would need to move away from the building and off of the property. Students and staff located on the first floor of the building will leave the building through the nearest exit. Please follow the directions posted in your classroom. These maps and directions were created to minimize the exits being overwhelmed with too many people. Students and staff located on the second floor of the building will exit the nearest stairwell assigned to them. There are 5 stairwells we will use in most scenarios. Please do not use the center stairwell in the case of severe weather. The atrium above is glass that may pose danger in case of a storm. Students and staff in the front of WKHS will evacuate across Hard Road to McCord Middle School, while students and staff in the back of the building will evacuate through the backfield to Bluffsview Elementary School. Worthington-Kilbourne has 2 rally point locations that are not part of our district. One is the Hard Road Park. The other is the parking lot in front of Zettler Hardware, towards us from where Subway is located, right on Hard Road. It'll be on the north side of the road. Once at the evacuation or rally points, students and staff will follow directions given by the school district personnel or local law enforcement. Local authorities and Worthington schools would be able to easily transport students from our rally points to a centralized location like the Worthington Education Center or maybe the Worthington Rec Center, where students would remain until parents or guardians arrive for reunification. The safety and security of all Worthington-Kilbourne High School students and staff are a top priority. We hope that we never have to exit the building for an emergency, but we will continue to practice so we are prepared just in case. Thank you for helping to keep the WKHS community safe. Welcome to Safety Drill Series Episode 2, Lockdown, Lockout, Evacuate, and Shelter in Place. Safety Drill Series Episode 2. In this episode, we are going to learn about how we would respond in different emergency situations. We will discuss more types of safety drills we participate in at Worthington-Kilbourne High School. Earlier, we talked about different types of evacuation drills. In particular, we discussed reasons to leave classrooms, the building, or even our property. In this episode, we're going to talk about reasons we may want to lock and secure the building or our classroom. While there are numerous options for keeping students and staff safe, today we're going to primarily focus on lockout and lockdown, but we'll touch on evacuate and shelter briefly. What does it mean to lock out? Staff will lock all outside doors. No one is allowed in or out. Inside the school, it's business as usual. When might a lockout occur? When there's a threat or danger outside of the school. If a threat's very close to the school, the response may be to go into lockout. Often, local law enforcement will contact the school to request that we go into a lockout. Threats could be a bank robbery, a high-speed chase, a suspicious person, riots, demonstrations, some dangerous animal outside, or a fire in the neighborhood. These might be reasons that they would contact us. What about class changes? Most of the time, normal in-building class changes would occur. Can we leave the school? Usually not. There's something dangerous near the school. That means that even if the school day ends, we may have to stay in the building until the threat is mitigated. Here is what students and staff should do during a lockout. A lockdown is used when there's a threat inside the building, such as an intruder or some danger. What's the difference between a lockout and a lockdown? A lockout is when a threat is outside of the building. A lockdown is when there's a threat inside the building. After securing the perimeter, lockout is business as usual. Lockdown is locks, lights, and get out of sight. What do we do during a lockdown? The goal is to get out of sight behind a locked door as quickly as possible. Turn out the lights and remain quiet. A locked door is a proven time barrier. Do not open the door for anyone. Administrators or law enforcement will unlock the door and release the room when it's time. What if you're outside the building when a lockdown is called? If you're outside and a lockdown is called, do not go back in the building. Go to a safe location, as discussed earlier in this program. What if there's no teacher in the room when a lockdown is called? Getting behind a locked door, if possible, anywhere in the building is your best bet. If not, close the door and hide. You may try to evacuate if the threat is not in your immediate vicinity, but it's hard to know. So the quicker you can lock down, the better you'll be. What if you're in the hallway? Teachers will check the halls quickly before they lock and turn the lights out. Everyone should get to a classroom, any classroom, as quickly as you can and lock down. If the classroom's already locked, then find a place to hide. Do not go from classroom to classroom. Evacuating may be another option. Here is what students and staff should do during a lockdown. Evacuate simply means moving your students and staff in an orderly fashion from point A to point B. In episode 1, we talked about rally point evacuation. A fire drill is an example of a building evacuation. Typically, you will leave your things behind. If you have your phone, take it with you and listen for instructions. What about evacuating at a time if there is a threat inside the building? Do we have permission to self-evacuate? The answer is yes, but pay attention to the situation. Do you know where the threat is? Can you see the exit? Is it away from the threat, noise, or commotion? Here's another question. If we do self-evacuate, where do we go? You can go to the rally points we discussed in an earlier session. Any Worthington schools can take a report for your attendance, or you can report to a rally point, the Hard Road Park, or the parking lot at Zettler Hardware. If you go to another school, a nearby business, your home, or a friend's or family member's home, be sure to let the school know that you are safe. Attendance is very important after one of these events. Here is what students and staff should do during evacuation. Now let's talk about shelter. We take shelter inside the school in response to a hazardous situation that makes it unsafe to go outdoors. So what's a hazard? A hazard is something dangerous. It could be environmental, like a tornado or an earthquake. It might be something like a chemical spill nearby. What is a safe strategy? Your safety strategy is what you do in response to a hazard. What do we do during a hazardous situation? Number one, you listen for instructions. The situation may be very dynamic. Follow the safety strategy that applies to the situation. For example, in the case of a tornado, you will take shelter in your designated location. Here's what students and staff should do to take shelter. Now let's walk through some scenarios. What should you do if there's a lightning strike during a football game or at an event in the stadium? You could talk amongst yourselves. Okay, some of the more common sense answers should talk about evacuating the stands and moving to a safe place. One of the safest places in an electrical storm is your car or inside of a building. You should not stay exposed to the lightning threat. You should not move under a tree. The root system under a tree conducts the lightning in a much broader path than the initial strike. There are many fatalities and injuries each sports season from people who did not seek proper shelter. So the best thing to do is to get away from the threat. Thank you for your attention during these safety series and for considering these safety tips. Planning, preparing, and practicing are the best ways to be ready here at WKHS for a safety situation. Once again, thank you.